Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. Is the season over for Manchester United because the board have decided to stick with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? What are the connotations of that? What will the results be of this major decision? Also, a bit of an update from Manchester Evening News. I mean, I don't want to sort of give people hope anymore about what might happen. I think United would have made the decision by now if they were going to make it. But a very interesting update I'm going to give you straight away. In fact, we'll just read it straight out to you here. The Manchester United board have made no decision over the future of Solskjaer. And as of this moment, he will be in charge of the Watford game. But situations change very fast. So look, that's from Manchester Evening News. What do they know? Who knows? I don't know. But that's rather interesting, I think, as well. We also had Romano on the show this afternoon. Beth interviewed him. Fantastic updates there about United have not spoken to Zidane. So, where are we? What does it mean for the season? What does it mean for the players? What does it mean for you? What does it mean this season for Manchester United? And we'll be talking about that as well. Also, let's not forget as well, we've also had this announcement today, spin, about Manchester United's share proposal that they've been working on with the Manchester United Supporters Trust since the summer, that was meant to be ready at the start of August, but is now in progress and will happen at some point, but we don't know the detail of it. I do want to delve into that a little bit straight away because that's about fans, that's about fan ownership. This is about what the protests were about, trying to remove the Glazers from the club. And they had this meeting with Joel Glazer and, it was about, the thing about the protest is it was about getting rid of the Glazers, or it was at least about getting 50% control of the club. I very much doubt we're getting anywhere, and I say we, I mean fans, I very much doubt we're getting anything more than 15% max voting rights, which is, still nothing really. But I think sometimes it's served best when somebody else says something about it. And this is a journalist, which I retweeted, Chris Winterburn, says on the story about the updates that Man United put out today about the shares for fans share scheme. Chris Winterburn said, keep Solskjaer stories quiet for a few days, gives Golden Joel an amazing degree of credit for suggesting the scheme and doesn't actually give any time frame of when the shares become effective. You'll get a vote on hot dog suppliers after 100 years of shareholdership. So, look, a lot of cynicism there. I mean, what I would say is that, you've got to see how it develops, of course, and see what happens with it. One of the things that we are expecting is a fans advisory board. I have a real issue with where this club is going. I mean, this fan base is ridiculously divided, and the people that the club are talking to, I don't think are necessarily the most fair representation of what a United fan is these days. They just seem to focus on the match-going fans and the supporters trust, which are people who have been a part of that trust for 10, 20 years. How many representatives are going to be on this advisory board from India or America or Ireland or London or Australia? And that, to me, is my issue with any fans advisory board, is that these people tend to be quite bitter. I mean, they're even calling people E-fans now, E-Reds. If you are on social media, an E-Red. There's so much derogatory. I don't want to call it xenophobia, but there's certainly some. There's a real sense of dislike for fans who are on social media, fans who aren't from Manchester. And I think that these people that they put on the fan forum and the supporters trust and everything like that, I don't think it's a very diverse representation. And you can say whatever you want to say about fan channels and websites, but we welcome everybody. Like, I've got, there's people on this channel from Manchester, there's people on this channel from Ireland, there's people on this channel from America, there's people on this channel from all over the world. And that's the way it's always been. And certainly people watching this channel. And, people can take a pop at this channel as much as they like, but I would always say it to their face. Tell me where we're not inclusive then. Tell me where we don't listen to everyone, and I'll show you where you don't. And you can threaten us, you can do whatever you like, but the reality is you don't like fans on social media, but fans on social media include everybody. And I think the club should be ashamed as well, because all they're interested in is speaking to these groups. And I'll guarantee you now, the fans advisory board will be made up of the same people as the as the fan forum, which is just match-going fans, which is fantastic. I mean, the match-going fans are the life and blood of the club. They absolutely are, especially the away support. We've got some of the best fans in the world, but we are not just the fans in the ground. And the funny hypocritical thing is the club know that. That's why they were trying to do the Super League, because they wanted to get you. They wanted to go to India. They wanted to go to Australia. They wanted to go to America. They wanted to make it a franchise and make the most money. So they want you, but they don't want to respect you. They don't want to use you. They don't want you on the advisory board. What I want to see, and I don't want to be on it, I do my bloody head in. I do not want to be on an advisory board, and I do not want to be on a fan forum. But I'd like some of you to be on it, because it would represent what the fan base is all about. The fan base is the Australian fans, the Indian fans, the American fans, the Asian fans. They're all over. They're all over. And South Africa, African fans, all over the world. And I don't think we see enough of that representation. And again, who are these people that they're talking to? I know who they're talking to, and it's the same people all the time who I don't think open their doors to the wider fan base. They want you on their database, but they don't open the doors. I don't think it's very representative, but anything to get the Glazers out, and I will wait. I will wait to see, like you will wait to see, what this is all about. But ultimately, I think if this ends up with fans getting 20% in the club, it's failure. The protests were to try and get 50% and get the Glazers out. 20% with the Glazers still having control. What's that? Oh, you can come and sit at the table. You can dunk one of your biscuits in our tea, but you're not having a final say. That's not fan ownership. But let's wait and see. But I know there's a lot of people very frustrated about it. A lot of people who worked with people in May, put money into things in May. A lot of people who went side by side with people in May who feel like they've been chewed up and spat out, whilst other people have gone off and done deals with the club. But look, you're never going to please everybody, and there is a lot of division in the fan base, unfortunately. Glazers have won, fans filling seats and buying merchandise, call for match and merchandise boycotts, and one is crucified via social media, says Kyle. Sending up, well, maybe we've just found out. Make a great point, Kyle. The protest on Saturday was not well organised and not done properly. But ultimately, why would certain supporters groups get involved in a protest when they're working on deals like this with the club? So you can understand, you can see why it probably didn't happen, and why they're not interested, and why they're having a go at people who want to protest. Sending Ollie off on a week's holiday is a disgrace. This international break was the perfect opportunity to save the season and get a new manager in, says Phil. Woodward moving like Chancellor Palpatine. He should have left office a while ago, but somehow he's still here, says Yellow Bathing Suit. The decline this club in is breaking my heart all the way from New Zealand. Love your work, Goldbridge, and the team. Great content, says Brad Thompson. And Mark, what now for the club? Ollie is probably staying, top four gone. We're going to talk about that now. A lot of players will now leave. We're seriously heading for a meltdown, says Mojo. We're not important yet. Before the COVID set in, you want to play a pre-season in India, says Summerjit. And Glazers have won. Yeah, okay. I mean, look, at the end of the day, all I would love to see is communities on social media here, and the big communities utilised and made to feel like they're part of it. And I think too many times they're made to feel like they're second-class citizens by the club and by certain groups. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why we have this elitism. I just don't see it. I don't understand it. Empower your fan base. Make everyone feel part of it. That's surely what it should all be about. It's certainly a principle we've had from day one. And people might not like us, but we are inclusive. And we do not judge on where somebody's from or whatever. I know when I've done like the US tour and we've woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to watch the show, I know many of you are doing that every week, because you don't get the game at 3 o'clock or 8 o'clock. You get it at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm fully aware of how passionate and learned our fan base is. So look, let's talk about the situation with Manchester United at the moment. And I think that comment from Mojo is quite interesting. So Manchester Evening News are saying that no final decision's been made on Ollie yet. I disagree with this. I think that Manchester. I understand what the Manchester Evening News are saying. They're saying that United are still potentially pondering moving Ollie on. I don't agree with that. The way I look at this is they have made their decision. The decision has been made. Villa made a decision. They've got Steven Gerrard. Norwich made a decision. They've got Dean Smith. Spurs made a decision. They've got Antonio Conte. Manchester United made a decision. They didn't sack Solskjaer. That's the decision they've made. And yes, things could change in the future, but as of here right now, the cut-off was when the team came back training, and the team came back training. So United obviously are sticking with Ollie. And I think that when you look at that, does that mean the season is over? United are behind Solskjaer. What does this mean? Unfortunately, I think we're heading for, and I really hope I'm wrong, and it feeds in with what I've just been talking about, I think we're heading towards a toxic environment generated by the club. I think what's going to happen is so many people have made their decision about Solskjaer. They're not going to come back. But if we do win a couple of games, you will get fans who start going, come on, let's get behind the team and the manager. And you'll have people who are saying, I'm not getting behind the manager. And then those groups are going to clash with each other and it's going to get very toxic. This is generated by the club because there are genuine opinions there that are going to be deep-rooted. So I think that's going to be a problem. I think in the playing staff it's a problem because he's got too many players that he's made unhappy. And even if he started playing Sancho and Donny, he's then going to make Greenwood potentially and maybe a McTominay or a Fred unhappy. He's got too many players and he's going to make them unhappy. I think when you look at Solskjaer, the big thing that worries me is that no matter what happens, no matter what spike in results we get, and we could keep clean sheets and Ronaldo could score goals and Bruno could score goals, but we know how we win under Solskjaer. We win on individualism and we win on clean sheets. If we can get back to clean sheets and individualism, we will win some games. But what we don't do is we don't win on progressive developmental play. I was talking to Draw tonight just before the show, and we were talking about development, and I said, well, we were talking about this on the United Stand a couple of weeks ago as a community. We were talking about players that Solskjaer has developed and his coaching staff. Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford are two prime examples of very talented youth players that have come through the team who have not developed. Marcus Rashford is the same player. He's got the individuality to do something really special, but he's not developed his team play, he's not developed his final ball, he's not developed his positional play. And the same with Mason Greenwood. Fantastic generational talent in my opinion, but he's no different to me from what he was doing when he was 17. He's still both-footed, he can still get a shot off, he can still get past the player, but he's not developed in relation to his positional awareness, his passing and build-up play. You put those two players under Pep Guardiola for the last 3 years, or Jurgen Klopp for the last 3 years, they wouldn't be the same player they were 3 years ago. Too many of our players are good players but don't develop. I don't think Bruno Fernandes has developed. He came to us at 24. He still has development in him. His game's not changed. So I think these are problems. And, I was also saying this as well. Just curious as Noah, why are fans not singing Ollie out, or more importantly, anti-Glazer chants at games? It probably won't do anything but send a strong message to Noah. I don't think fans should sing Ollie out. I don't think United fans would sing Ollie out. I think United fans have a level of class that they wouldn't do that. I certainly wouldn't want to do that if I was there, and I certainly don't think a lot of United fans would. I don't really think that, it's like Liverpool under Dalglish at the time in 2012, I think it was. They wouldn't have shouted Dalglish out because there's a line you don't cross. It's sentimentality, of course it is, but it's class. And this is why the club love having Ollie there, because it will only go so far. I think booing Ollie happened against Man City, but it happened in a way where the fans felt comfortable. And I think it was the ironic cheering of Donny van der Beek. I think that was the booing of Ollie. They would never boo Ollie. And I respect that, and I think every United fan should, because that just shows you the class of our fans that they wouldn't do that. But I think the ironic cheering about, and there was jeering about stuff, and that there was definitely discontent. But Ollie out, you wouldn't get that. Over 1 million fans in India alone, and only match-going fans will make up the advisory board. They are a shambles, and we're a banter and a disgrace. It's just football. Look, I don't know. Hopefully, one of these organisations can do something about that, because if we're having a fans advisory board, you need to have representation. You definitely have to have representatives from people around the world. Whether I personally think each continent should have a fan advisory board. It's like FIFA. FIFA has different areas who have different representatives on the board. Manchester United should have different fan representatives from around the world. When I lived in Ireland, I'd be on the ferry and people would be coming in back and forth overnight for Man United games every game. Like, there are fans that make a hell of a commitment, and there should be. I agree with you on that. There definitely should be. But going back to what we were talking about previously there, I do think that what people don't think about is that if I'm a United player after that Man City game, right, I'm gutted, right? I'm off on international duty and I come back and I'm coming back to the same manager. I don't care whether you're Ronaldo, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, Donny van der Beek, who's had a week off as well. when you finish that game against Man City and you've taken 4 points from 18, and if you've been anywhere around football, you don't expect to be coming back for that Watford game with the same coaches. And I think whilst the players will put the smile on their face and be professional, I think deep down those players, probably not even that deep down, will be surprised and probably concerned that the club have shown such a lack of ambition. So you can look at it from a fan point of view, but imagine if you're a player of Manchester United. You must be thinking, bloody hell, I was buzzing at the start of this season that we might actually win something, and this is the ambition of the football club. McFred have no right to be angry if they get dropped. They've had more chances than ABBA, says Harry Sheriff. Take a chance on me. Love it. Even if Ollie's holding up the Premier League trophy at the end of the season, it wouldn't be good football. It would be another stroke of luck and still want him out, says Daniel. Hey, mate, if he wins the Premier League, he can stay for me. He can have a bloody statue. I mean, that to me is what I want to happen, but it won't happen. Love the content. Thanks as always for all you do. Would love to see a regular presenter on from the US someday in the future. Enjoy the Legos with Seb. Thank you, Corey Lineker. Well, you know what? Funnily enough, you'll see something about that in the next few weeks, so watch out for that. I mean, we used to have Dan on quite a lot, but COVID sort of knocked everything for six, but I'm sure things are going to change with the way things are going, so that'd be good. But, yeah, I do think that it's a difficult situation for the players as well. But interestingly, isn't it? It's interesting. We were talking this morning about spin, and I think we should all feel a bit dizzy today because we've been spun by the club big time. We've had the announcement of the share thing, which is not really an announcement. I mean, at the end of the day, if you listen to the announcement, it's like, there's going to be a share scheme. We're not going to give you any detail. We're not going to tell you how long it's going to take, but there's going to be a share scheme. But this was something that Joel Glazer said was going to happen for the start of the season. So that story on this day is spin. It's like that journalist Chris Winterburn said. This coming out today was purposeful. That's United's plan since Man City. Hide, and then the day Ollie's back, put the story about the share scheme. There's no detail in the share scheme. I don't think Manchester United Supporters Trust have even put any detail out today. It's just a very shallow statement. There's no detail. But it's out there because they're trying to deflect from Ollie. That's what they're trying to do. Zidane. What did I say about Zidane? Zidane's close. United are in talks with Zidane. I wouldn't be surprised if Zidane's the next United manager. Romano's on the show today. There's no talks with Zidane. Don't think he's even interested in coming to Manchester United. So, wherever that's come from and why it's come out, it just gives them a couple of days, doesn't it? So I think that where I feel we are in relation to the season now, and I want to get into your opinions on this. I'm not doing a watch along tonight. I don't care if England beat San Marino 20-0. I would rather watch England play Solihull Moors than play San Marino. It's just such a... I despair. I absolutely despair at that level of international football. It's a waste of time. I would rather wipe my arse for 2 hours than watch that. If Ollie was playing in front of the American contingent, they'd be booing him off the field, says Oz. Ronaldo will leave in January. Have the board thought that through, says Megan's dad. And the club saying we want to listen to the fans. Ask the fans, would they rather Donny stay or Ollie stay? I think the majority would say, says Sean Turner. I love the content, Matt. Continued success and kudos from Gate 7 Greece. Man United need a change from top to bottom, management-wise, says Chris. And hi, Mark. Got my mum watching you with me. Can you say hello to Rebecca? Hello to Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca. That's from Jensen as well. Thank you very much. I must just say as well, I completely forgot. We do Christmas jumpers on the United stand, and this is the latest design that's come out. The link is in the video description if you want to get it. This is navy blue with gold and white. You can get it in reds. You can get it in a few other colours, but I just quite like the navy blue one. I always think, can I wear it in a pub? And I think I can. So we do ship worldwide. If you want to get it worldwide for Christmas on any of our designs, we've got the Goldbridge one as well. We've got we've got a few different Christmas designs. The last date to get it worldwide before Christmas is the 24th. So get your orders in early. Links in the video description for that. I would have completely forgot, apart from the fact I just looked at myself and saw the jumper. So there we go. This is navy blue. There is a black one, but this is navy blue. It's definitely navy blue. It might not be coming across on screen. Christmas decorations up yet, Mark? Think you promised it? No, not done it yet, Rockstar. And as Hamilton said, cash is king. I bet these fans groups from Manchester get stuff from the board so they stay quiet, says Paulo Ramirez. Look, the trouble is when you say something, it gets taken the other way. I've got nothing against any fan group. I think the you take for example the Red Army. What an amazing thing that is that's happened this season. I think the movement to above the tunnel has given way more atmosphere, and I think it's going to be a real positive thing when we get our club back. Imagine when we're actually successful, what that stadium's going to be like when it's already like that when we're not. So I think that's a great thing. Obviously, they're a massive part of the away support, which for me has always been the best away support in the Premier League. They're fantastic. I've not had a lot of dealings with the Manchester United Supporters Trust, so I can't speak negatively or positively about it. But none of these groups should take offence when we're sat here saying that a fans advisory board should reflect the fan base. And whilst I think the match day fans are the life and soul of the party, so to speak, the dominant force is the wider fan base, and they should have a voice. Otherwise, why should they bother? But they're going to bother because they love the club, and the club can't be hypocrites and cater to a small percentage because that's vocal compared to the vast majority of the fan base, which the club lives off. It's the wider wealth of this fan base that feeds the club, and the club in this modern world where we're constantly told about diversity and a world without barriers. It feels to me like the club does live in a world with barriers, does live in a very Manchester centric world, and it should be wider. It should be wider. And what's wrong with that? If you're arguing with that, you're basically being elitist. We should be diverse in our fan base. What's wrong with that? And we're not representative in that way. And I hope that these changes do reflect that. The blame actually goes higher than the Glazers. Whatever the Premier League opened the markets to billionaires owners, that is when football died, says Red Baron. And we are Kylie Minogue FC spinning around, says Anthony Mayotte. We've been Kit Kat FC taking a break, and now we are Kylie Minogue FC spinning around. Can you see players walking out in January, says Phil? No. But let's talk about the season ahead, because I think that's really important. There's a few things I want to talk about, but I think the general consensus, if you've not caught things today, and I would advise you to watch the Fabrizio Romano interview that Beth did, is that from what Fabrizio was saying, Manchester United's intention is to stick with Solskjaer till the summer and hope for a turnaround. And then potentially they could change it in the season if they want to. I mean, I personally would call that out and say that that's bullshit. Can you see players walking out in January? We'll talk about. I love the content. So basically, I don't think what Fabrizio's saying is bullshit, but I think that stance from United is bullshit, because if they're sticking with Ollie to turn it around till the summer and hope for a turnaround, well, if he turns it around, they won't change it in the summer. So their whole plan is flawed, because basically there's a manager that no one trusts anymore. You're going to stick with him. Well, if you stick with him, the only way he's going to get results is by crap football, which is what we've seen for the last year. So if we stick with him and he grinds out top four on crap football, he'll stay and we'll do it again next year. If he doesn't do it, you'll have to sack him anyway. The whole argument is flawed if you're a football club. If you're a business and it's about position, not performance, then they're going to stick with it. I mean, if I said to the Glazers now, we can play the same brand of football as last year, where we grind out loads of 1-0s and it's really boring, but we get fourth place. Or you can spend 30 million sacking Solskjaer, bringing in a new manager, and we get second place and play really good football, and there's a future that the fans are happy with. What would you rather do? We'll take the fourth place because it costs nothing. And that's why the Glazers will never be in tune with Man United fans, and that's why Manchester United will never be in tune with Man United fans, because the club really are just about... They're Arsenal under Wenger. They just want fourth, whereas we want the football and the results. And that's basically what the club are saying at the moment, is we want to stick with Solskjaer. But the whole thing is flawed. If you're saying we want to give Ollie a chance to turn it around, that implies that it was in the right direction once before. We've never been going in the right direction. Some of us has taken 3 years to see that. I put my hands up. Even in the summer I was saying give him time, I think he can do it. But ultimately, this was the sink or swim season. Mourinho went through the same and he sank. And I think Ollie's sunk further, but somehow he's still in the job. But he can't turn it around because he's never played the right way in the first place. All he can do is go back to what he did after Istanbul, go on a 3-month run where he wins a lot of games 1-0 or 2-1 and gets fine margin results where we're holding on and we deflect a winner in, or they have a shot and it gets blocked by Eric Bailly. Of course we can go and do that again. If we can do it last year, we can definitely do it with Varane and Ronaldo. But that's not a future plan because we know that Solskjaer's coaches can never compete with the best teams in this league on a consistent basis. So the way I see this season is I think we're in a race for fourth. I think that's what we're looking at. Ross says, I'm sick and tired of seeing Fred and McTominay in the midfield while Donny is sitting on the bench. It's criminal. Well, it'd be interesting to see if he does decide to change that on Saturday. Kane better than Ronaldo after today, confirms as Reese. I presume he's watching that shit show for San Marino. And Sam Higgins says, is Ronaldo also a massive issue? We've been terrible since he joined. Doesn't press, selfish little movement, less opportunities for young players, etc. Sam, I don't know whether that's a troll comment, but, are we worse with Ronaldo? I mean, I feel like it's a troll comment because wasting my time answering it just seems like a waste of oxygen. How can we be worse with Ronaldo when we'd be out of the Champions League already without Ronaldo? Like, he's literally won and drawn us games that are key. So, and I think the only way, if any, look, maybe Sam is trolling, but we've certainly heard it in the media, and maybe there are some United fans that think it and go, well, Portugal aren't doing well, and United aren't doing well. It must be Ronaldo. Yeah, one of the greatest players to ever play the game, one of the best goal scorers there's ever been. It must be his fault. It's nothing to do with Ronaldo. Like, his Portuguese manager is shit. If you watch Portugal, they're just crap. They're so defensive, it's ridiculous. And as we know as United fans, the coaching at United is abysmal as well. And we've just spent a couple of minutes talking about how players are not developing who aren't Ronaldo. So it's nothing to do with Ronaldo as to why we're not developing. And the easiest way to look at it is, before Ronaldo came in, were we scoring 4 or 5 goals winning games? No. Last season, we generated a name for our number 9. Whether it was Martial, whether it was Cavani, whether it was Greenwood, it was called the graveyard shift. Nothing's changed. So it's got nothing to do with Ronaldo. We were playing crap football, fine margin FC last year. This year, we're just not getting away with it. Once I saw Moyes coming in and the joke of a transfer window we had that year with Fellaini, I knew Man United was on the down, but wow, never thought this, says Marcelino. And the one thing that Ollie does really well is recruitment. The players he's got in are unreal, but on the other hand, don't pick them. Scrap that statement, says Sean Turner. Yeah, well, his recruitment on paper is very good, Sean Turner, but what he's done with those players is consistently fail, really, when you look at it. Dan James didn't work out. You could argue that Wan-Bissaka and Maguire aren't working out the way that they should have done, and I would argue that those 2 players under a better coach would be better players as well. Ronaldo's obviously worked. Varane is a little bit too early. Van der Beek has not worked. Diallo has not worked. Cavani worked, but Agallo didn't work. I'm trying to think of other ones. Sancho. I mean, I still don't understand how £74 million is spent on a player and then you don't use them. I think it's ridiculous. But look, let me go back to what we were talking about. What do you think this season? Telles didn't work. Bruno's worked, but I think Bruno was one of those players that was always going to work. And I would argue Agallo didn't work. He worked for about a month and then we never saw him again. He didn't work at all. I think that in relation to Bruno, Bruno's been a very good signing for us, and I knew he'd be a good signing for us. I don't think he's any different. I don't think he's a different player than what we signed. I don't think we developed him, but he's a very good player, and I think he would have worked anywhere he would have gone, because he was. If you knew about Bruno, you knew that would happen. But I think with the season ahead, best case scenario, we get into a situation where we're comfortably in the sort of 3rd or 4th spot. I think that's the best case scenario. Maybe we have a deep run into the FA Cup. Maybe we sort of get quarterfinals of the Champions League. And that's horrible to say, that the best we can hope for is a deep run into the FA Cup, quarterfinals of the Champions League, and maybe 4th comfortably. I think that's the best scenario under Solskjaer. And I'll do the worst case scenario, but 4th place, maybe semi-final of the FA Cup, Champions League quarter-final. That's the best case scenario under Solskjaer, I think. 4th place comfortably, semi-final FA Cup, quarter-final Champions League. And the reason I say that is Liverpool, Chelsea and City are better than us, so we shouldn't be finishing above them. Semi-final of the FA Cup, because at some point you're going to have to play Man City, Liverpool or Chelsea and they'll knock us out. And Champions League, again, you're going to have to play one of those 3 or Bayern Munich or PSG at some point who I think could beat us as well. So that's the best case scenario with Solskjaer. Also, when that happens in the summer, he probably should get the sack because 4th place is not very good and no trophy. But whoever comes in at that point, Pogba won't be here, Donny won't be here, and Ronaldo might be leaving. So the thing that worries me about seeing this season through with Solskjaer is that if you brought a new manager in now, yes, we're damaged goods, but they can probably heal it enough. I think they could get us comfortably in the top 4. They could maybe win an FA Cup and maybe go a little bit deeper in the Champions League. But more importantly, they could bring some structure, foresight and vision, as well as incorporating Donny, Pogba and keeping Ronaldo happy. Whereas if we wait till the end of the season when the damage is done, those players will have already gone and will have lost 7 months. So best case scenario, I think, is Ollie is 4th, semi-final FA Cup, quarter-final Champions League. Worst case scenario, 6th is about the lowest I think we could go. I don't think we'd go any lower than 6th. I don't think there's anybody consistent enough to get more points than we will grind out. So I think 6th would be the worst case scenario. Obviously nothing in the FA Cup and nothing in the Champions League. So what's more realistic? People forget they've been trying to rework Bruno's contract since lockdown. He isn't signing with trophies. Shaw hasn't signed either, says Gabriel Noel. And Ronaldo doesn't press and defend. His media and pundits not from Manchester making him look bad. At his age, we want him to sprint during attacks, not defend, says Abbas. I think the expectations on Ronaldo are just ridiculous. I mean, I've never really heard such nonsense about strikers having to press. He's scoring world class goals, and we're talking about his pressing stats. The reality is, if United pressed well as a team, no one would talk about Ronaldo's pressing stats. Bruno runs around a lot, but a lot of it is like a headless chicken. He's running here, there and everywhere. There's no structure to his movement. Same with Rashford, same with Greenwood. They run around a lot, but there's no plan with it. You look at a Liverpool or a Man City, when they press collectively. When United press, it's just individualistic and you can pass through it all the time. Look at what happened with Leicester. So, Ronaldo's probably the clever one, because he's like, I'm not just going to run around for the hell of it. There was exhilarating belief at United. I miss it, says Wesley George. Well, I think there was exhilarating belief at the start of the season, and it dissipated very, very quickly, didn't it? So, yeah, but look, worst case scenario for me, I don't think we can finish any lower than 6th. If we finish 6th, I dread to think what's going to happen in the summer. I know Beth asked Fabrizio about it today. What happens with Cristiano Ronaldo if we finish in the Europa League and not the Champions League? And Fabrizio quite rightly said, look, Ronaldo's not even thinking about that at the moment. He's totally committed to Manchester United, which he is. But I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it a lot. Mr. Champions League, 37 years of age, next summer, potentially just missed out on the World Cup in the Europa League with Man United. Effectively, with Portugal and United will have retired him unwillingly. He's not going to go to another World Cup, and he's going to be playing in the Europa League. He may as well retire. I mean, what an embarrassment that would be for a genius icon of the game. So I'm very worried about what happens if we finish in Europa League spots in the summer, because Ronaldo might stay, but he might well go, screw that. I'll go and play for Lisbon in the bloody Champions League. As long as I'm playing in the Champions League scoring goals, that's all I want to do. So I am very worried about that. Also, he might well have it in his contract. Players have all sorts of things in their contracts. Who knows? But that does worry me. I still think we could get 4th under Ollie, but is that an achievement? I certainly won't be sat here in February, March, April, when we're fighting for 4th, going, it'll be a good season. We finished 2nd and 3rd. We finished 3rd and 2nd. To drop to 4th, That's nothing to get excited about. Ollie finishes 6th and keeps his job. Possible under the Glazers. Mate, anything's possible under the Glazers. We are living in a world now where I don't think anybody can predict when Solskjaer will go, because nobody can understand why he's still here. So I'm not going to say if we lose to Watford and Chelsea, he loses his job. I've got no confidence in that happening. I don't know what the rules are at United anymore. They've ripped up the rule book. You know, being hammered and humiliated by Liverpool 5-0 at home. I mean, I'm saying those words and I still can't comprehend it happened and he survived it. You know, hammered at home by Liverpool 5-0, stays in a job. Humiliated at home by Man City 2 weeks later, he stays in a job. 4 points from 18, he stays in a job. Doesn't use £74 million signings, stays in a job. Horrific football, stays in a job. So I would challenge any United fan to tell us at the moment what the future is and what you have to do to get sacked. I would say the only thing I could cling on to, and don't want to happen, of course, is that as soon as the Champions League is impossible, they'll sack him. Because that's what they did with Moyes, that's what they did with Van Gaal, and that's what they more or less did with Mourinho. That's the only thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if he kept going. Did you see the video from The Athletic about Man United defence? Explains perfectly how poor we are at pressing as a team or defending as a team, says you. I don't need to see videos. I don't think anybody needs to see videos. I mean, we are a shambles. I said it against Leicester. Our defensive line was deep because Maguire and Lindelof were scared of Vardy's pace. And then our front line was pressing high. And we had this huge gap in the midfield that they exploited. We don't press as a team. There is, I mean, part of it's because we've never bought a good midfielder. But there is, you know, our attack and our defence, they're like relatives that don't get on. They're like a sandwich act without a filling. It just doesn't work. And there's no link between the defence and the attack. They're like strangers. You know, I think Van Dijk and Salah and Mane, they know who they are because they're glued together with their midfield. United's midfield is just so poor. They're like different things. No wonder Rashford and Shaw don't work anymore, and Greenwood and Wan-Bissaka don't work anymore. They're like strangers. There's no fluidity between that team. Ollie finish. Okay, we've done that one. Mojo says we could be playing the Conference League. Freaking hell, says you know what? I know it's always nice to play in European week. It's better, you know. I'm sure Arsenal would probably rather. Well, maybe they wouldn't. I don't want to be in the Conference League. The Europa Leagues. I never want to play Thursday night football again. We're playing Arsenal in a few weeks' time, and it's on a Thursday night. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting the sweats. That Ronaldo goal against Atalanta, I know we were crap and Atalanta deserved to beat us, but one of the big celebration points for me was no more Thursday night football. I can't do Thursday night football. I definitely can't do Thursday night football in the Conference League. Bloody hell. Give him time, give him time. We're back in 1989, says JW. The Zidane stuff, Fahim High, the Zidane stuff is a myth. As predicted, it's spin. There is no talks with Zidane. And Zidane isn't even convinced about taking the job. Yeah. On Brendan Rodgers, I don't know. I believe Brendan Rodgers would take the job. Obviously, Manchester United have decided not to go for him at the moment. But I would, I can't tell you how excited I would be tonight if Brendan Rodgers was manager and Ollie wasn't, because I would just be so motivated by the change and knowing what Rodgers did at Swansea and Leicester and Liverpool to a certain extent, knowing he's a young manager, he's still in his late 40s, knowing what his principles are, his development principles, his recruitment principles. I mean, United should be all over Brendan Rodgers, by the way, because I think he's a manager that's very professional in the way he conducts himself. He's not flamboyant, he's not aggressive. Like a Conte or even a Klopp at times. He's not really quite like that. And there's nothing wrong with Conte and Klopp, by the way. You know, he is the sort of manager that Man United would like corporately. And also in relation to recruitments, he recruits well. He doesn't necessarily go and need an £80 million centre-back. He recruits well as well. So I think he would suit our board very well. But I think he would also suit our fan base. But You know, for whatever reason, it's not happening at the moment. I honestly think having no manager than Ollie staying at least, Donny would have a chance as Jim WH. It's funny because somebody, I mean, I can't subscribe to this view, but I remember somebody saying last week on the show, I actually think Man United, if they got rid of all the coaches and let Ronaldo do it, would be in a better position. I mean, think of that what you like. If we don't win at Watford, then what, says Mojo? If we don't win at Watford, he's not getting the sack. Like, he will still be here because we're playing Watford on Saturday afternoon and then we're playing Villarreal at 6 o'clock, 5:45 on Tuesday. So, he will not... It's too short a time. It's too short a time. But I think that's an interesting thing as well, because if you look at... Let's just play a silly game here. Collectively. Let's just play a silly game. So United at the moment, if you look at the league table, Man United have got 17 points. We're in 6th place. We're joint with Brighton. Arsenal have got 20 points and they play Liverpool on Saturday. So there's an opportunity, if we beat Watford, we can close the gap on 5th or 4th because they can't both win. We're 6 points off West Ham. And I think West Ham have got a difficult game this weekend, if my memory serves me correctly as well. West Ham are playing against Wolves at 3 o'clock, the same time as us. So we're 6 points off, 5 points off Liverpool in 4th, and we're 6 points off West Ham, and we're 9 points off Chelsea. But more importantly, if you look at it, we've got 7 games before Christmas, right? And we took 3 points from our last 12 points. We've taken 4 from our last 18. So how many do you think we're going to take from our next 21? To get this season anywhere near back on track, we've got to take, I think, 15 points from 21. Can we take 15 points from 21? Well, look, Watford, ideally, you think we'd win that. So that's 3. Chelsea, I think we're going to lose. So that's 3 from 6. Arsenal, I think we'll draw that. So that's 4 from 9. Palace, it's at home. I think we'll win that. So the Palace are very good, by the way, but I do think we'll win that. So 7 from 12. Norwich away, everyone wins there. 10 from 15. Brentford away. I don't think they're playing that well at the moment. So 13 from 18. Brighton at home, you know, 16 from 21. If we win that, so that look, maybe I'm being really generous, but 16 from 21 would be 5 points drop from 21, so we'd be in a better position. But you know, maybe I'm being generous. Maybe I am being generous. Maybe that's what the Glazers are thinking. One of the reasons Brendan Roth... I can't help myself, you know. You know, people say I'm very negative, but actually I think I'm very positive. I think I give this team a lot of credit because I know how good it can be. And I do look at games and go, well, we'll beat Palace, we'll beat Watford, we'll beat Brentford, we'll beat Norwich. I give this team a lot of credit because I know what it should do. But, you know, there'll be a lot of people in the chat saying you're deluded. So, but the thing is, I get called negative, and yet I said, oh, we'll beat Villa, we'll beat Everton, you know, we'll beat Southampton away. It doesn't always go that way, does it? One of the reasons Brendan Rodgers left Celtic was because the board wasn't giving him the players he wanted to compete in Europe. I don't think Brendan Rodgers and the Glazers would get on well. Glazers out, says Harris Amin. And we will lose to Brentford, says Frank West. Leicester are playing Chelsea. Brentford are not playing particularly well at the moment, though. That's what I mean. We might catch them at a good time. I think if we'd played Brentford 3 or 4 weeks ago, we'd have been in trouble. We will get Wazza next, mark my words. Oh, God. Shane Maguire, I hope you're wrong. I wouldn't. Would you discount the players downing tools, says Nathan? You know, I think the nicest thing I could say about the players is I think that they've got to take some responsibility for this situation. And what I mean by that is that, you know, they can stop this cycle very quickly. I don't know about downing tools, but that Mourinho ended up losing his job because of the players. So these players know what needs to be done if it needs to be done. And if the players are behind the manager, I think that says a lot about those players, because if you're a winner and you want to win things, this ain't the right manager. If you're sticking behind this manager because he's a nice guys don't win you trophies. Footballing CVs win you trophies. Nice guys can win trophies, but nice guy on your CV and no coaching ability doesn't win you the titles. So yeah, a nice guy can win you a title, but they've got to have coaching ability. He doesn't have coaching ability. And I think that somebody said this last week, I can't remember which journalist it was, and it was about the players. And they basically said this. They said the reason Ollie still retains the main support of the players is because they like him because he's a nice guy. But if you took them away individually and asked him if he's a good coach, they'd probably say, is this off the record? He's a bad coach. But he retains the support of these players because he's a nice guy. Well, that says a lot about the players. In many ways, I think Ollie's faultless. And this might sound really weird, but what I mean by this is, we all know Ollie's a nice guy. I'd argue with anybody who says Ollie's not a nice guy, because I know people who've played with him and know him and say he's a lovely guy. So Ollie's a nice guy. It's universal. You might want to not like him, but he's nice. He's a nice guy, right? Is he a good coach? Not in my opinion, not in most opinions. But the players have to take some responsibility. The club have to take some responsibility. Solskjaer cannot sack himself, and he cannot turn himself into prime Pep. So the board have to sack him. He can't sack himself, so that's not Ollie's fault. And the players need to look at themselves and say, why am I not speaking to the board about this? Why am I not speaking to my agent about this? Why am I putting up... I have a very short career, and I'm going along with this friendship when actually I should want to win trophies. And so the players have got a responsibility in this situation. Now, whether they want to down tools or not, that's down to them. But ultimately, their careers are suffering. I said this the other day. Scott McTominay rushes himself back from a groin injury, gets played 3 times in a week and plays crap in all 3 games. He's not been very good since coming back from injury, but rushes himself back for the club. Maguire rushes himself back, has the worst game he's ever had against Leicester for the club. Like, it's great doing things for the club, but is it benefiting your career running through walls for this coach? No. So that's the lesson. I've got nothing against the player wanting to get themselves back quick from fitness and play for the club. That's commendable. But just because you're getting on with the manager, what's he doing for your career? And I don't think there are any United players that are really... What I would say, if I could speak to some of the players, I'd say Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Scott McTominay, Fred, you'd all be better players if you were managed by Brendan Rodgers. 100%. Can't guarantee you'd be still here, but you'd be better players than you are. Surely that's what's important when you're a professional footballer, to be the best player you are. And I feel sorry for the players, because I think that so many of them are getting so much stick at the moment, and under a better coach, they'd be better players. And that's why, for me, when we change the coach, every player gets a clean slate. Of course, I've got question marks over some of them. I don't think they're good enough to be starting for United. But I also think they could be better players, coached better and developed better under a different coach. I think he's gone after Villarreal. He will basically make his situation untenable. The players have mentally checked out. Everyone's saying, what if Ollie wins these? I think it's out of his hands, says Nick P. Mark, with Ollie still around, our season is over. I've lost so much respect for the United board, says Nico. And we need the winners in the locker room to take charge. De Gea, Varane and Ronaldo. He can leave. He has to decide whether legacy or cash is more important. Let's see if Ollie decides or hides from this question. You know what, Red Baron? I respect that. But as you know on this show, it's not about making enemies. It's not about falling out. It's about having an opinion and sticking by it. I absolutely disagree that Ollie should walk away. I know Gattuso did it at AC Milan, but I absolutely disagree with him walking away. He's given 3 years here. They give him a new contract in the summer. That's the club's mistake. That's Woodward's mistake. He's got every right to be sacked and take his severance pay. I wouldn't do their job for them. I wouldn't. I love this club. Ollie loves this club. But you know what? In this situation, I'd be saying to the board, you can swivel on it if you think I'm going to resign. You know, do your job. Do your job. Sack me or back me. And back me means do it publicly. And I tell you what, if you don't do it publicly, I'm going in the press conference on Friday. I'm going to say, look, I'm here. Why should... I mean, this won't happen. But if I was Ollie, I would be like, where's the public backing for me then? Are you talking to other managers? Because if you are, sack me and we move on. I'll put my hands up. If you sack me, you've decided I'm not good enough. I've given it what I can. Sack me. If you're not sacking me, publicly back me. Because I tell you what, if you don't, I'm going in that press conference on Friday and I'm going to say that. I'm going to sit there and say, because they're going to ask me about the job. You've not said anything publicly. I'm going to sit there in that press conference on Friday and I'm going to say, look, I'm here to give everything to this job like I have done for the last 3 years. I cannot sack myself. The board is ask the board about what's going on. I'm here to prepare for the game against Watford and I will do that. If the club decide I'm not the man for the job, they decide I'm not the man for the job. I think Ollie's been set up in a situation that's not ideal. And the club have Ollie won't do that. Ollie is a protector of the club. He's always been like that, whether you like that or not. But I think Ollie's got a right to be pissed off as well. Stephen Lee says, nice guy equals pushover. Players have no respect from him. This is why players are underperforming. Ollie, just leave, says Stephen Lee. I mean, he can't expose them because he'll have signed something, Matt. He can't, but he can be clever. Mourinho was clever at the end. Mourinho was basically putting stuff out there that he hadn't been backed. Look, United supporter says it's Ollie's fault, though. This team is underperforming, not the Glazers. You're not listening to what I said. That's not what I said. Ollie should be sacked. We all know that. But he can't. But what we're talking about is, should he walk away and not take a payout? Why? Ollie should be sacked. We all know Ollie should be sacked. That's the bottom line. The media know it. The players know it. The fans know it. Everyone knows he should be sacked. He shouldn't even be here. We shouldn't be having this conversation. Why has he not been sacked? Because the board. Why should Ollie go, you're crap at doing your job, I'm going to be a martyr and say I'm resigning. I'm going to walk away from 7 million quid because you're too shit to do your job. I wouldn't do that. Even if I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and I knew I was crap and I knew I wasn't good enough for the job, I wouldn't walk away. Because that's not my job to do that. That's their job to do that. That's on the Glazers. Of course, Ollie's been crap as a manager and he deserves the sack, but he can't sack himself. He can't, and I don't. He doesn't deserve a payout. Well, that's up to you. But he didn't sign the he signed the contract. He didn't offer the contract. If you're angry about Ollie being in a job, it's not Ollie's fault. He shouldn't be in a job. I agree, but it's not on him. And people say, well, Gattuso's built different, but Gattuso's a coach that can probably go and get another job. Remember, Ollie's never going to get another good job like this. This is his last big job in football. Like, he will never get a job anywhere like this. He's not going to have a bounce back and get the Liverpool job, is he? He's not going to have a bounce back and get a Chelsea job. He ain't never getting a decent job like this again. And you want him to walk away from it for nothing. As they say, Mark, nice guys finish last, says Daniel Hay. I think that will be Ollie's legacy, if and when we sack him, is that, nice guys don't make good managers. I think you've got to have something, And remember, we used to hear these rumours that behind closed doors he was quite vicious. Well, I'm not so sure. Anyway, look, we've gone past 9 o'clock. I'm sure people are eager to go and watch the shit England play against San Marino. I'd rather watch paint dry, but there you go. One positive to look forward to. Maguire seems to have his mojo back, so he should defend well over the next few games, says Taraj. I hope so. Harry Maguire needs to start reading the room, realise his performances have been embarrassing. What Roy Keane said about him was not bullying, it was spot on. He's been crap for United, and he needs to knuckle down and start playing well for United. Stop with the shushing, stop with the bloody we're back. Even if he scores a hat-trick against Watford, it's about what he does against Chelsea, Arsenal, Palace. We need to stop celebrating mini wins. Man United celebrated in May, not after one goal in one game. We need to get back to a winning mentality, and he's the captain of the club, so I hope he is back, and I hope he starts reading the room better, because at the moment he's not been acting like a United captain. He's not been acting like a decent centre-back, but they are two jobs. And I hope he can play well, because confidence is key. Right, thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. We'll be back in the morning, of course, at 10 o'clock. And let's see what the rest of the evening brings. I mean, look, as I said, Manchester Evening News are saying that Solskjaer could still be sacked. No decision's been made yet. I hope not, but I think it has. Remember, if you want to get your Christmas jumpers, links in the video description. It's available in lots of different colours, and we've got lots of different designs. Get your orders in. We do ship worldwide. I'll speak to you all in a bit.